The smell that changed everything. Jasmine Reed pressed her back against the cold kitchen wall, trying to make herself invisible. At 24 years old, she had perfected the art of disappearing. Her dark hair was pulled tight into a bun, her uniform pressed perfectly, and her steps were always silent. Working at Riverside Manor, the most exclusive restaurant in Boston, required blending into the background like furniture. The private dining hall sparkled with crystal chandeliers and polished silverware. Tonight was special. Boston's wealthiest entrepreneurs gathered to celebrate the city's culinary excellence. Jasmine carried her silver tray through the crowd, refilling wine glasses without making eye contact. These people lived in a different world, one where servers were ghosts who appeared and vanished on command. Then she smelled it. The scent hit her like a physical blow. Hidden beneath the fragrant herbs and expensive butter, something was deeply wrong. Her nose, cursed gift that it was, detected the unmistakable smell of decay. The bacteria was multiplying, creating a signature odor that only she could perceive. Jasmine's heart hammered against her ribs. She knew that smell. It meant danger. A dangerous discovery. Dorothy Hayes found her standing frozen near the kitchen entrance. The older woman had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners, worn hands that had prepared thousands of meals, and a gentle spirit that had made the nervous young server feel welcome 6 months ago. "Child, what troubles you?" Dorothy asked softly, noticing the pale expression on Jasmine's face. "The salmon," Jasmine whispered, barely audible. "Something is very wrong with tonight's salmon. I can smell it from here. The bacteria has been growing for at least 2 days." Dorothy's expression shifted from concern to worry. She glanced toward the kitchen where Chef Brandon Foster commanded his staff like a military general. 3 Michelin stars decorated his restaurant, and his reputation was legendary. Nobody questioned Chef Brandon. "Are you certain?" Dorothy asked carefully. Jasmine nodded, her throat tight. Her hyperosmia had never failed her. Since childhood, she could detect things others missed. Spoiled food, gas leaks, even illnesses before symptoms appeared. But this gift had made her childhood miserable. Kids called her weird. Teachers suggested therapy. Even her own family struggled to understand. "I know Chef Brandon won't listen to me," Jasmine said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But people will get sick. Really sick." The chef who refused to listen. Dorothy squeezed her shoulder. "Come with me. We must tell him." The kitchen was controlled chaos. Flames leaped from pans, knives flashed across cutting boards, and Chef Brandon orchestrated everything with precise commands. His white chef's coat remained spotless despite the surrounding storm of cooking. "Chef Brandon," Dorothy began carefully. "We need to discuss tonight's salmon." He didn't look up from the plate he was arranging. "The salmon is perfection. Norwegian, fresh caught, prepared exactly as requested." "Sir," Jasmine forced herself to speak, though her voice shook. "I believe the salmon has been improperly stored. The bacterial contamination is dangerous." The kitchen fell silent. Every staff member turned to stare. Chef Brandon slowly raised his head, his face flushing red. "Excuse me?" "The smell indicates the fish has been kept at incorrect temperatures," Jasmine continued, fighting the urge to run. "Probably for 48 hours or more. Serving it could cause serious food poisoning." His laugh was harsh and cruel. "Everyone, listen carefully. Our little server believes her nose is more qualified than my 30 years of experience." He stepped closer, towering over Jasmine. "You pour drinks and clear plates. I create art. Know your place." Tears burned behind Jasmine's eyes, but she stood firm. "Please, just check the storage logs. The temperature recordings will show the problem." "Get out of my kitchen," Chef Brandon snarled. "Before I have you removed from my restaurant permanently." The moment of choice. Through the kitchen's round window, Jasmine watched the dining room. Nathan Pierce sat at the center table, surrounded by investors and business partners. She had heard the servers gossiping about him. 35 years old, self-made billionaire, creator of a revolutionary food delivery technology. Tonight's dinner was crucial for a major deal worth millions. The contaminated salmon plates were already being prepared. Beautiful presentation, deadly contents. Jasmine watched a server lift the first plate, heading toward Nathan's table. Her feet moved before her mind could second-guess the decision. She burst through the kitchen doors into the elegant dining room. Every conversation stopped. 100 pairs of eyes turned toward the small server who had violated the invisible boundary between help and guests. "Mr. Pierce," Jasmine's voice carried across the silent room. "Please don't eat the salmon." The price of truth. The shock was absolute. Forks paused midair. Wine glasses froze at lips. Nathan Pierce's steel blue eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her want to shrink away. "Explain yourself," he commanded, his voice calm but powerful. "The salmon is contaminated," Jasmine said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I have hyperosmia, an enhanced sense of smell. The fish has been stored improperly for at least 2 days. The bacterial levels are dangerous enough to cause severe illness." Chef Brandon exploded through the kitchen doors, his face purple with rage. "This woman is delusional. Security, remove her immediately." "Wait." Nathan held up one hand, stopping the approaching guards. He studied Jasmine with sharp intelligence. "You're staking your job on this claim?" "I'm staking my conscience on it," Jasmine replied quietly. "I would rather be unemployed than watch innocent people suffer." Something flickered across Nathan's face. Surprise, perhaps, or respect. "Mr. Pierce," Chef Brandon's voice dripped with condescension. "I personally selected this salmon. My reputation stands behind every dish." "And her reputation?" Nathan asked softly, still watching Jasmine. "What does she gain from lying?" "Attention," Chef Brandon spat. "She's been trouble since day one." Dorothy pushed through the crowd. "That's a lie. Jasmine is the most honest person I've ever worked with. If she says something is wrong, something is wrong." Nathan Pierce stood slowly, his tall frame commanding attention. He looked at his plate, then at Jasmine, then at the furious chef. The entire room held its breath. "Test the salmon," Nathan ordered. "Immediately. I want independent laboratory analysis of every piece of fish in this kitchen." Chef Brandon's confident expression wavered. "That's completely unnecessary." "Then you won't mind proving it," Nathan replied coolly. He turned to Jasmine. "You'll wait in the manager's office. If you're wrong, there will be consequences. If you're right, there will be different consequences for someone else." As security escorted her away, Jasmine caught Dorothy's encouraging smile. She had spoken her truth. Whatever happened next, she had done the right thing. But as she sat alone in the office, hands trembling, she wondered if doing the right thing would cost her everything. When everything falls apart, Jasmine sat alone in the manager's office, her body shaking with adrenaline. Through the thin walls, she heard muffled voices, the clinking of silverware, and then something that made her blood run cold. Screaming, she rushed to the door, pressing her ear against it. Chaos had erupted in the dining room. People were shouting. Someone was crying. The unmistakable sounds of people becoming violently ill echoed through the restaurant. Her warning had come too late for some. The door flew open. Nathan Pierce stood there, his expression dark and furious. Behind him, the dining room looked like a disaster scene. At least 6 guests were doubled over, their faces pale and sweating. Paramedics were rushing in through the front entrance. "How many?" Jasmine whispered. 7 people showing symptoms, Nathan said, his voice tight with controlled anger. 3 severely ill. One woman is being rushed to the hospital right now. He paused, studying her face. You tried to warn us. I'm so sorry, Jasmine's voice broke. I should have been louder, more insistent. No. Nathan's tone softened slightly. You did everything you could. The failure belongs to the person who served poisoned food, not the person who tried to stop it. Dorothy appeared behind him, tears streaming down her weathered face. Jasmine, thank God you're safe. Chef Brandon is trying to blame this on you. He's telling everyone you tampered with the food. What? Jasmine felt the room spin. The cover-up begins. Nathan's jaw clenched. He's claiming you have a history of mental instability. That you created this crisis for attention. Through the office window, Jasmine could see Chef Brandon talking rapidly to a police officer. His hands gestured wildly, his face a mask of concerned innocence. He pointed toward the office where she sat, and the officer's expression hardened. He's going to make me the villain, Jasmine realized, her voice hollow. Not if I can help it, Nathan said firmly. But I need you to tell me everything. When did you first smell the contamination? What exactly did you detect? Jasmine explained her gift in detail. How she'd smelled the bacterial growth from across the room. How the signature scent of decay was unmistakable to her trained senses. How she'd begged Chef Brandon to check the storage logs but was dismissed and humiliated. Dorothy corroborated everything. I've worked with Jasmine for 6 months. Her nose has prevented 3 potential food safety issues that nobody else noticed. She's never been wrong. Nathan pulled out his phone, making a call. David, I need you at Riverside Manor immediately. Bring the legal team. We have a situation. He paused. Yes, the salmon situation. It's worse than we thought. The truth starts to surface. Within 20 minutes, Nathan's lawyers arrived along with food safety inspectors. The restaurant was shut down, and every piece of salmon was confiscated for testing. Chef Brandon's protests grew more desperate as investigators examined the kitchen storage areas and temperature logs. Jasmine watched from the office as a young inspector emerged from the walk-in cooler, his face grim. He spoke quietly to his supervisor, who immediately called for additional testing equipment. Nathan returned to the office. The preliminary findings support your claims completely. The salmon was stored at unsafe temperatures for at least 50 hours. Chef Brandon signed off on the delivery himself. Then why did he serve it? Jasmine asked. That's what we're about to find out. They gathered in the dining room, now empty except for staff and investigators. Chef Brandon sat at a table, his earlier arrogance replaced by pale fear. His hands trembled as he avoided everyone's eyes. The storage unit malfunctioned, he said weakly. I didn't realize the temperature had risen. It was an honest mistake. Mistake? Nathan's voice was ice. You were warned explicitly by Miss Reed. You chose to ignore her and serve contaminated food anyway. She's just a server, Chef Brandon muttered. How was I supposed to know she was right? Dorothy stepped forward, her voice shaking with emotion. You did know. I heard you on the phone yesterday morning. You told your supplier the salmon smelled off, but you'd already promised it for tonight's special menu. You gambled with people's lives rather than admit you made a bad purchase. The room fell silent. Every eye turned to Chef Brandon. That's not true, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. The recording that changed everything. One of the kitchen staff, a young prep cook named Tommy, raised his hand nervously. I have something to show you. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I've been documenting everything in the kitchen for a culinary school project. I recorded Chef Brandon yesterday during prep. Tommy played the video. The audio was clear. Chef Brandon's voice came through, the salmon is borderline, but we're committed now. Cook it thoroughly, mask it with strong herbs. Nobody will notice. This menu has been advertised for weeks. Canceling would be a disaster for our reputation. Another voice, Tommy's, asked, "But sir, what if someone gets sick?" Chef Brandon's response was chilling, "Then we'll deal with it. The chances are minimal. My reputation is worth the risk." The phone clattered onto the table. Everyone stared at it in horror. Nathan's face had gone white with fury. "You knowingly served contaminated food. You gambled with people's health, including mine, to protect your reputation." Chef Brandon's composure shattered completely. "You don't understand the pressure. 3 Michelin stars. Investors watching. One mistake and everything crumbles. The salmon was expensive, already paid for. I thought if I cooked it properly, the heat would kill the bacteria. But it didn't," Jasmine said softly. "And now people are suffering because you valued your pride more than their safety." Justice and redemption. The police arrested Chef Brandon that night. Charges included reckless endangerment, food safety violations, and attempted fraud. As they led him away in handcuffs, he looked at Jasmine with something between hatred and broken defeat. "You destroyed everything I built," he said. "No," Jasmine replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You destroyed it yourself. I just stopped you from hurting more people." After he was gone, Nathan turned to Jasmine. "The 3 people hospitalized are stable. They'll recover fully. Because of you, it wasn't worse. If everyone had eaten that salmon, we could have had dozens of people in critical condition." Dorothy wrapped Jasmine in a tight hug. "You saved lives tonight, sweet girl. Never doubt that." The food safety inspector approached with his report. "Miss Reed, your olfactory detection was remarkably accurate. The bacterial count was dangerously high, exactly as you described. Have you ever considered working in food safety professionally?" Jasmine laughed shakily. "I've spent my whole life being told my sense of smell was a problem, not a skill." "It's definitely a skill," Nathan said. "And I'd like to discuss how we can use it." A new beginning emerges. As the restaurant emptied and cleanup crews arrived, Nathan asked Jasmine and Dorothy to join him in the private dining room. They sat at a table that hours ago had been set for celebration, now holding only water glasses and the weight of the evening's events. "Jasmine," Nathan began, his usual commanding tone softened. "Tonight you demonstrated something I rarely encounter in my world, absolute integrity. You risked everything to tell the truth, even when everyone dismissed you." "I just did what anyone should do," Jasmine said. "But most people don't," Nathan replied. "I've built a restaurant technology empire worth billions, and I've learned that talent is common but character is rare. You have both." He pulled out a business card, writing something on the back. "I'm offering you a position. Director of Food Safety for Pierce Industries. We operate 43 restaurants across 8 states. Your job would be to ensure this never happens anywhere in our organization." Jasmine stared at the card, unable to process the words. "Director? But I'm just a server. I don't have formal education in food science." "You have something better," Nathan said. "You have an extraordinary gift and the courage to use it, even when it costs you. The formal education we can provide. The integrity you already possess." Dorothy beamed with pride. "Say yes, child. This is your moment." "The starting salary is $200,000, Nathan continued. "Plus benefits, full training, and a team you'll build yourself. I want you to find others like you, people with sensory abilities who've been told they're strange instead of special." Jasmine's eyes filled with tears. "Why are you doing this?" Nathan was quiet for a moment, his carefully controlled expression cracking slightly. 5 years ago, I trusted the wrong person. My former partner betrayed everything we built, sold our secrets, nearly destroyed my company. Since then, I've trusted no one completely. I built walls so high that I forgot what genuine integrity looked like. He met her eyes. Tonight you reminded me. You saved my life, and you didn't even know me. That kind of person is worth building something around. I accept, Jasmine whispered, then louder, I accept. The morning after. Jasmine woke in her tiny studio apartment, momentarily confused. Had last night really happened? Then she saw the business card on her nightstand, Nathan Pierce's personal number written on the back in bold script, and she knew it was real. Her phone buzzed with notifications. The story had exploded across social media overnight. Videos from guests at the restaurant showed her confronting Chef Brandon, her small frame standing firm against his fury. The headlines called her the server who saved Boston and the nose that detected danger. A text from Nathan appeared, meeting at 10 a.m. Pierce Industries headquarters. We have much to discuss. Building something new. The Pierce Industries building towered over downtown Boston, all glass and steel reaching toward the sky. Jasmine felt small stepping into the marble lobby, but the receptionist greeted her warmly. Miss Reed, Mr. Pierce is expecting you. Top floor. The elevator ride felt endless. When the doors opened, Nathan stood waiting, looking less like the furious billionaire from last night and more like someone carrying hope carefully. Welcome to your new workplace, he said, leading her through modern offices filled with busy professionals. I've already assembled a preliminary team. People who believe in what we're building. In a large conference room, a dozen people waited. Jasmine recognized Dorothy, beaming with pride. But there were others too, scientists, safety inspectors, restaurant managers, and several people who looked as nervous as Jasmine felt. Nathan began the meeting. Everyone here knows what happened at Riverside Manor. Jasmine Reed used her extraordinary sensory ability to prevent a tragedy. But she's not alone. We've identified 17 people across our restaurant network with various heightened senses. Enhanced taste perception, temperature sensitivity, texture recognition. Abilities they've been hiding because society told them they were defects, not gifts. A young man raised his hand shyly. I can detect temperature changes of half a degree. I always thought something was wrong with me. A woman added, I can taste chemical contamination in water that testing equipment misses. I stopped mentioning it after people called me paranoid. Jasmine felt tears forming. These were her people. Others who understood what it meant to sense things nobody else could. The foundation takes shape. Over the following weeks, the Carter Pierce Foundation for Sensory Development took form. The name had been Nathan's idea, combining both their names to emphasize partnership. Jasmine had protested, but he insisted. You're not my employee, he explained during a late-night planning session. You're my partner in this. Equal voices, equal vision. They worked side by side, often until midnight, building protocols and training programs. Jasmine discovered she had a natural talent for leadership, her quiet observation skills translating into understanding what people needed. The Foundation's mission was clear: identify individuals with heightened sensory abilities, provide scientific validation and training, and employ them throughout the food industry. What had been sources of shame would become sources of pride and livelihood. Dorothy managed the kitchen training programs, her decades of experience invaluable. Tommy, the brave prep cook who'd provided the recording, joined as a coordinator. Even some of Chef Brandon's former staff members requested positions, eager to work somewhere integrity mattered more than ego. When romance blooms. It happened gradually, then suddenly. Late nights reviewing safety protocols turned into conversations about childhood dreams and adult disappointments. Jasmine learned that Nathan's wealth hadn't brought happiness, that success without connection felt hollow. Nathan learned about Jasmine's lonely childhood, about being different in a world that demanded conformity. One evening, 3 months after the Riverside Manor incident, they sat in Nathan's office overlooking the Boston skyline. Rain streaked the windows, city lights blurring into watercolor beauty. "What do I smell like to you?" Nathan asked suddenly. Jasmine had wondered when he'd ask. She breathed deeply, analyzing the complex scent profile she'd come to know so well. "Expensive coffee and determination," she said honestly. "But underneath, there's something else now. Something that wasn't there before." "What?" "Warmth," she said softly. "Like sunshine breaking through clouds. And hope. You smell like someone learning to trust again." Nathan was quiet for a long moment. "You changed everything, Jasmine. Not just the foundation. Me. I'd forgotten that vulnerability could be strength, that trusting someone was worth the risk." "And what have I learned?" Jasmine smiled. "That your voice matters. That being different is your superpower, not your weakness." He moved closer, and Jasmine's enhanced senses detected his nervousness, his hope, his genuine affection. The scent that meant falling in love: warm bread, chocolate, and something uniquely him. "This is probably complicated," Nathan said. "Professional ethics, power dynamics, all the things HR would worry about." "Everything worthwhile is complicated," Jasmine replied, echoing words Dorothy had once told her. Their first kiss tasted like coffee and possibility, like two lonely people finding home in each other. The trial and closure. Chef Brandon Foster's trial became a media sensation. Jasmine testified for 3 hours, explaining her abilities with scientific backing provided by the Foundation's researchers. Dorothy's testimony about Brandon's knowing negligence was devastating. Tommy's recording sealed his fate. The jury deliberated for only 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. As they led him away to begin his prison sentence, Brandon looked at Jasmine one final time. The hatred was gone, replaced by something sadder, understanding of what he'd lost. "I hope you find peace," Jasmine told him quietly. "Real peace, not just success." He nodded, unable to speak. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Nathan stood beside Jasmine as she faced the cameras, no longer the invisible server but someone with a voice and purpose. "What's next for the Foundation?" a reporter asked. "We're expanding nationwide," Jasmine announced. "We've identified over 200 individuals with heightened sensory abilities. They'll be trained, employed, and celebrated. What makes them different will make our food system safer." "And your relationship with Mr. Pierce," another reporter called out. Nathan and Jasmine exchanged glances. They'd discussed this moment. "We're partners in every sense," Nathan said simply, taking her hand. "Professional and personal. When you find someone who makes you better, you hold on." 1 year later. The Foundation's first anniversary celebration filled the ballroom of a hotel that had once seemed impossibly grand to Jasmine. Now she moved through it with quiet confidence, greeting the sensory specialists who'd found purpose through the program. Dorothy supervised the catering, ensuring everything met their enhanced standards. Tommy coordinated logistics, his organizational skills finally recognized and valued. The 17 original members had grown to over 300 nationwide, each one a person who'd been told they were too sensitive, too different, too much. Nathan found Jasmine on the balcony, looking out over the city that had once seemed so foreign and frightening. "Thinking about how far you've come?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her. "Thinking about how far we've all come," she corrected. "A year ago, I was invisible. Now I'm helping others become visible too." "You were never invisible to me," Nathan said softly. "From the moment you stood up in that dining room, you were the most visible person in the world." Inside, Dorothy clinked a glass for attention. "A toast," she called out. "To Jasmine Reed, who taught us that our differences are our gifts. To Nathan Pierce, who built a place where those gifts could flourish. And to every person here who refused to let the world make them small." Glasses raised throughout the ballroom. Jasmine felt tears of joy rather than fear, pride rather than shame. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. My daughter has hyperosmia. She's 12 and thinks she's a freak. Can your foundation help? Jasmine showed Nathan the message. This is why we do this. Then let's help her, Nathan replied. Let's help all of them. As they returned to the celebration, Jasmine realized her journey had come full circle. The shy girl who'd feared her own voice now used it to amplify others. The curse she'd carried had become a calling. And the loneliness that had defined her life had transformed into love, purpose, and belonging. She'd learned the most important truth of all: our greatest weaknesses, when embraced with courage, become our greatest strengths. And sometimes, the person who changes the world is simply the one brave enough to speak truth when everyone else stays silent. The foundation would continue growing, helping thousands find pride in their differences. But tonight was for celebration, for gratitude, for acknowledging how far they'd all come. Dorothy raised her glass once more. To never being invisible again. To never being invisible again, everyone echoed. And as Jasmine looked around the room at all the lives changed, all the voices finally heard, she knew this was just the beginning. The best stories, after all, are the ones that never truly end. They just keep growing, touching more lives, creating more hope, one brave moment at a time.